I never thought a Tuesday morning could end your entire life. The cafe on Lexington smelled like burnt vanilla and other people's ambitions. I'd been coming there for 3 years. Always the corner table, always black coffee, always alone. That morning, I was late on rent, behind on a design project and wearing the same jeans I'd slept in. My laptop balanced on a stack of unpaid bills. I wasn't looking where I was going when I stood up. The coffee was lukewarm. That's what I remember most. Not hot enough to burn, but warm enough to ruin everything it touched. I collided with a wall that turned out to be a man. The cup exploded between us. Dark liquid bloomed across the most expensive suit I'd ever seen up close. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, probably worth more than my rent for half a year. I gasped, grabbed napkins, started apologizing in that breathless way you do when you know sorry will never be enough. He didn't move. That's when I looked up. His eyes were the color of a winter sky before snow. Pale gray, cold, unreadable. He was maybe 35, dark hair cut sharp, jaw like it had been carved with intention, handsome in a way that made you nervous. But it wasn't his face that stopped my heart. It was his stillness. He didn't flinch, didn't curse, didn't even blink. The entire cafe went silent. Someone behind me whispered a name. Kane. Marcus Kane. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I felt it. The shift in air pressure, the way people suddenly found their phones fascinating, the way the barista's hand trembled pouring milk. "I'm so sorry," I said again, my voice smaller now. "I'll pay for the cleaning. I just need to." "You'll make this right." His voice was quiet, controlled. Worse than yelling, I nodded, frantic. "Yes, of course. I can give you my information or..." "Tonight, 8 p.m. He pulled a card from his pocket, somehow still pristine, and pressed it into my hand. "This address, don't be late." It wasn't a request. Before I could answer, he was gone. 2 men in dark suits materialized from nowhere, flanking him as he walked out. The door didn't even fully close before the cafe erupted in whispers. I looked down at the card, embossed letters, an address in Manhattan I couldn't afford to visit, let alone live near. My hands were shaking. The barista appeared at my elbow. "You okay?" Her eyes were wide, pitying. "Who is he?" She glanced at the door, then back at me, lowered her voice. "You really don't know?" When I shook my head, she exhaled slowly. "Marcus Kane. He owns half the buildings in this city. The legitimate ones, anyway." She paused. "My advice? Don't go tonight." But I knew I would. Not because of the suit, not because of fear, exactly, but because of the way he'd looked at me, like he was memorizing my face for a reason I couldn't understand yet, like I mattered in a way that had nothing to do with coffee stains. I went home, changed 3 times, told myself I was being ridiculous. It was just a suit, just a man, just a mistake. At 7:45, I was standing outside a building made entirely of glass and steel and money. Security checked my name against a list. The elevator had no buttons, it just knew where to take me. Classical music played softly. My reflection looked terrified. The doors opened directly into a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan like a painting. Everything was clean lines and dark wood and the kind of silence that comes from perfect insulation and immense wealth. A woman in a black dress appeared, smiled with professional warmth, and gestured toward an open door. "Mr. Kane is expecting you." I walked into an office bigger than my entire apartment. He sat behind a desk that could seat 12. The ruined suit was draped over a leather chair like evidence. He didn't stand, didn't smile, just watched me enter with those same cold eyes. "Emma Hayes." He said my name like he'd known it for years. "Sit." I sat. He slid a folder across the desk. "Open it." My fingers felt numb. Inside were photographs of me leaving my apartment, at the cafe, walking through Brooklyn, shopping, existing, all taken in the past week. My throat closed. "What is this? Context?" He leaned back, fingers steepled. "I've been looking for someone. Emma, someone with your particular skills. Graphic design, specifically, someone talented, overlooked, desperate enough to take a risk." His eyes never left mine. And then you literally ran into me. Some people would call that fate. I call it convenient. I don't understand. You will. He stood, walked to the window. His reflection was a dark shape against the glowing city. I need someone I can trust, someone with no connections to my world, someone nobody would suspect. He turned. You need money, security, a way out of the life you're barely surviving. I'm not barely surviving. His smile was sharp. You're 3 months behind on rent. Your student loans are in default. You eat cereal for dinner 4 nights a week. You're talented and invisible. He moved closer. I can change that. I stood, defensive. I didn't come here for a job offer. I came to apologize. And you have. Now sit back down. The command in his voice made my knees weak. I hated that. Hated that some part of me wanted to obey. I stayed standing. He studied me for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite approval, but close. You have a choice, Emma. Walk out that door and go back to cereal dinners and eviction notices. Or stay. Work for me. Let me show you what your life could look like if you stopped being afraid of wanting more. I don't even know what you do. I protect things, people, investments. He stepped closer. Too close. I could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker. And starting now, that includes you. Why? Because I can. Because I need you. Because... He stopped himself. Exhaled. You'll understand eventually. My heart was racing. Every instinct screamed to run. But underneath the fear was something else. Curiosity. The reckless kind. And if I say no, then you say no. His voice softened, just slightly. But you won't. He was right. I hated that too. What do you need me to do? Tomorrow, 10 a.m., come back here. We'll discuss details. He returned to his desk, dismissing me with his attention. But before I reached the door, he spoke again. Emma? I turned. He held up the photographs. From now on, no one touches you. No one follows you. No one hurts you. His eyes were mercury and ice. You're mine to protect now. Whether you understand what that means yet or not. The elevator doors closed on his face. I made it to the street before my hands started shaking again. But this time, it wasn't entirely from fear. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photographs. Me, unaware. Me, cataloged. Me, chosen for reasons I still couldn't name. At 6 a.m., I gave up and made coffee. The apartment felt different now. Smaller, more exposed. I checked the locks twice, pulled the curtains closed even though I was 4 floors up. Told myself I was being paranoid. Then I looked out the window. A black car idled at the curb, same one from last night. The driver leaned against the hood, scrolling his phone, patient as a shadow. My stomach dropped. I threw on clothes, grabbed my bag, and took the back stairs. Came out on the adjacent street, feeling clever and ridiculous. Walked 3 blocks before I realized the car was following me at a distance, smooth and inevitable as a tide. I stopped. The car stopped. The driver got out, older man, gray at the temples, suit that fit too well to be off the rack. He approached with his hands visible, non-threatening. Ms. Hayes, Mr. Kane arranged transportation. I didn't ask for transportation. No, ma'am. His voice was gentle, almost apologetic. But he insists. And if I refuse, then I follow you at a respectful distance until you change your mind or arrive safely at your destination. He opened the back door. It's a cold morning. The car is warm. I wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to call someone. But who? I had no one. That was the problem, wasn't it? The reason I was so easy to photograph, so easy to isolate, so easy to choose. I got in the car. The driver didn't gloat, just closed the door quietly and returned to his seat. Classical music played low. The seats were heated leather. I hated how comfortable it was. Where to? He asked. The library. Brooklyn. He nodded and pulled into traffic. I spent 4 hours at the library researching Marcus Kane. The legitimate information was sparse. Real estate mogul, philanthropist, notoriously private. The rest required deeper digging. Forum posts, deleted articles, whispers behind paywalls. His father built an empire on construction contracts and union control. Marcus inherited it at 25 when his father had a sudden heart attack that some people didn't think was natural. Since then, he'd gone legitimate, mostly, owned buildings, invested in tech startups, donated to hospitals. But underneath, in the places Google didn't index, there were other stories. Missing rivals, fires that happened at convenient times, witnesses who changed their testimony, nothing provable, everything suspicious. I was reading about a journalist who'd tried to investigate him, then abruptly moved to Seattle and never wrote about Kane again. When my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "You're supposed to be here." Marcus's voice. No greeting. "It's 10:45. I didn't agree to come back. "Yes, you did." Not angry, just certain. "The car is outside." I looked up. The driver stood by the library entrance, phone to his ear, watching me through the glass, my hands clenched. "This is insane. This is protection, Emma. Learn the difference." He hung up. I sat there for 5 more minutes out of spite. Then I gathered my things and walked outside because what else was I going to do? Disappear? With what money? To where? The driver opened the door. I apologize for the inconvenience. "You're just doing your job," I muttered. Yes, ma'am, but I am sorry nonetheless." That made it worse somehow, that he was kind. At the penthouse, Marcus was on the phone when I entered. He gestured for me to sit, finished his conversation in clipped sentences, then hung up and studied me. "You're angry." "I'm terrified," I corrected. "There's a difference." "Good. Fear means you're paying attention." He opened a laptop, turned it toward me. "This is what I need. Simple document design work. Contracts, presentations, some branding materials. You'll work here on a secure network. Standard rate is $200 an hour." I blinked. "That's what you're worth, maybe more." He watched my reaction. "You'll have access to the office, the equipment, meals provided. James will drive you home each evening. The man stalking me has a name. The man protecting you has a name," Marcus corrected. His voice hardened. "And you'll be grateful for him soon enough." "Why?" I leaned forward. "What aren't you telling me?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, walked to a cabinet, and pulled out a manila envelope. Dropped it on the desk between us. "Open it." Inside were printouts, security footage, a man standing across from my building at various times, different days, different clothes, same face, sharp features, dark hair, watching. My blood went cold. Who is he?" "We don't know yet, but he's been following you for 3 weeks. Marcus's expression was granite. "Longer than I have." The room tilted. "Why?" "That's what I'm trying to find out." He sat on the edge of the desk, closer now. "You're connected to something, Emma? Or someone thinks you are? Until I know what, you don't go anywhere alone. This is crazy. I'm nobody. You're not nobody." His voice cut through my panic. "Not anymore." I stood, paced to the window. The city sprawled below, indifferent and vast. "What if I just leave, move somewhere else? Then he follows you, and next time I'm not there to stop what happens next." Marcus came to stand beside me. Not touching, but close enough that I felt the heat of him. I know this feels like a cage, but sometimes protection looks like walls until you realize they're keeping the monsters out, not you in. I wanted to argue, wanted to run, but my apartment didn't have security cameras or drivers or men who could make problems disappear with a phone call. How long? My voice was small. "Until we find him. Until we understand why." He turned to face me fully. "I won't lie to you, Emma. This might get worse before it gets better, but I keep my promises, and I promised no one hurts you. Why do you even care?" His jaw tightened. For a second, something flickered across his face, something almost vulnerable. Then it was gone. Because I can, that's enough. It wasn't. But I didn't push. I worked until 6 that evening. Marcus left for meetings, came back, worked in silence across the room. It should have been uncomfortable. Instead, it felt almost normal, like we'd done this 100 times before. James drove me home at 7, walked me to my door, checked the locks. "I'll be downstairs if you need anything." "You're staying all night?" "Yes, ma'am." I should have felt safer. Instead, I felt like prey. I made dinner, pasta, Nothing special. Tried to watch TV, gave up and took a shower, standing under the hot water until the tension in my shoulders finally eased. I was toweling my hair when I heard it, my phone, buzzing on the counter. Unknown number. Again, I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Silence. Just breathing. Hello? My voice cracked. Emma, a man's voice, accented, Russian, maybe, soft and terrifying. Such a pretty name. My heart stopped. Who is this? Someone who knows you much better than Marcus Kane ever will. A pause. Tell me, does he know about the scars on your wrists? The ones you hide with bracelets? I grabbed my wrist instinctively. The thin white lines I never talked about. How do you... I know everything, Angel. Where you've been, who you were, what you tried to forget. His voice lowered, intimate and venomous. You think Kane can protect you? He can't even protect himself. And you? He laughed, cold and sharp. You were never his to save. You were always mine. I don't know you. Yes, you do. You just don't remember yet. The sound of a lighter, an exhale of smoke. But you will, very soon. What do you want? Nothing you aren't already giving him. Your time, your trust, your beautiful, terrified attention. Another pause. Tell Kane something for me. Tell him Constantine says hello, and tell him. His voice turned to ice. She was chosen as a message, not for him, for what he took from me. The line went dead. I stood frozen, phone still pressed to my ear, water dripping from my hair onto the floor. The name echoed in my skull. Constantine. I knew that name. Somewhere deep and buried. I knew it. I called Marcus at 3 a.m. He answered on the first ring, voice alert like he'd been awake. Maybe he had been. Men like him probably didn't sleep much. Emma? What's wrong? Just hearing my name and his voice steadied something in me. I hated that. Hated needing it. Someone called me. He knew things. About me. About... My throat closed. He said his name was Constantine. The silence on the other end was worse than anything he could have said. Where are you right now? His voice had changed, lethal and controlled. My apartment. James is downstairs, I think. Stay on the phone. Don't hang up. I'm sending someone. Marcus. Who is he? Someone who should be dead. I heard movement. Doors opening. His voice barking orders to someone else. Then back to me. Softer. Emma, listen to me carefully. Lock your bedroom door. Push something heavy against it. Stay away from the windows. My hands started shaking. You're scaring me. Good. Be scared. Be smart. A pause. I'm 10 minutes away. It took him 7. James came up first. Checked every room with his gun drawn. 2 other men I'd never seen swept the apartment like they were looking for bombs. Marcus arrived last, still in the clothes he'd worn earlier, hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked at me standing in the corner of my bedroom, wrapped in a blanket, and something in his expression cracked. Pack a bag. You're not staying here. I can't just... Yes, you can. He moved closer, voice dropping. Emma, Konstantin Volkov is not someone you negotiate with or run from. He's a ghost who should have stayed buried. If he's surfaced because of you, then everything changes. The name hit me like cold water. Volkov. I knew that name. Somewhere in the dark spaces of my memory, I knew it. I don't understand. You will. But not here. Not now. He gestured to James. Take her to the penthouse, north wing. No one gets past the elevator. I grabbed his arm. Tell me who he is. Marcus looked at my hand on his sleeve, then at my face. His eyes were storm gray and tired. Someone I thought I'd destroyed 5 years ago. Someone with very long memory and no conscience. He pulled away gently. And apparently, someone who thinks you're his. The words hung between us like smoke. I packed in silence. Clothes, laptop, the small things that make a place feel like home. Not that this apartment ever really had. I'd been hiding here, not living. I understood that now. At the penthouse, Marcus gave me a wing of rooms I'd never seen before. Bedroom bigger than my entire apartment, bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people, windows that overlooked the city like we were floating above consequence. Sleep if you can. he said at the door. Tomorrow we figure out what he wants. And if I can't sleep, then I'll be in my office, 3 doors down. He hesitated. You're safe here, Emma. I promise you that. I wanted to believe him. I lasted 2 hours before the walls started closing in. Put on clothes, padded barefoot down the hallway. Found him exactly where he said he'd be, surrounded by monitors and files. Phone pressed to his ear speaking rapid Russian. He saw me, ended the call. Can't sleep. Can't breathe. I wrapped my arms around myself. This is insane. Yesterday I was worried about rent. Now I'm hiding from Russian mobsters in a penthouse that costs more per month than I've made in my entire life. Yesterday you were being followed and didn't know it. Now you do. He stood, poured 2 glasses of something amber from a crystal decanter. Offered me one. Drink. It helps. It burned going down. Whiskey. Expensive and smooth. I finished it. Tell me about him. About Konstantin. Marcus refilled both glasses. Sat on the edge of his desk, studying me. What do you remember about 5 years ago? About New York? I wasn't in New York 5 years ago. I stopped. The memories were hazy, fragmented. Chicago, I think, or maybe Boston. His voice was certain. You were in Boston, working at a design firm, dating someone. The glass nearly slipped from my hand. How do you know that? Because I know everything about you, Emma. I told you that. He took a slow drink. Because 5 years ago, I was cleaning up one of Konstantin Volkov's operations in Boston. Art forgery ring, high-end. They used talented designers to create fake provenance documents. Made millions before we shut it down. The room tilted. Art, design, Boston. Oh God. I need to sit down. Marcus was beside me instantly, guiding me to a chair. Breathe, just breathe. But I couldn't. Because the memories were flooding back now, sharp and terrible. The gallery. The charming man with the accent who'd loved my work. The projects he'd given me. The money that seemed too good. The night I'd realized what I was actually designing. The night I'd tried to leave. I didn't know. I whispered. I swear I didn't know what he was using them for. I know. Marcus crouched in front of me, hands on the armrests, caging me in. Not threatening, anchoring. Emma, look at me. I know you didn't know. Your name was cleared. You cooperated with the investigation. You did everything right. Then why is he calling me? Why now? Because he blames me for destroying his operation, for killing his brother in the raid. His jaw tightened. And because hurting you hurts me. He's done his research. He knows I've been watching you, that I brought you into my world. His voice dropped. This is my fault, not yours. I looked at him, really looked. Saw the guilt carved into the lines around his eyes, the weight he carried. You've been protecting me since Boston. It wasn't a question. Yes. Why? Because you were collateral damage in a war you didn't start. Because you tried to do the right thing and it nearly destroyed you. He stood, paced away. Because I watched the security footage from that night. Watched him put his hands on you. Watched you fight back. And I decided that if you survived, I'd make sure you stayed that way. My throat burned. I don't remember you being there. You weren't supposed to. He turned back, expression raw. But I remember you. I've never forgotten. The words hung between us, heavy with meaning I wasn't ready to touch. My phone buzzed. Both of us froze. Unknown number. Marcus held out his hand. Let me... No. I answered it myself. Put it on speaker. Konstantin's voice filled the room like poison. Hello, Angel? Did you deliver my message? What do you want? My voice was steadier than I felt. What I've always wanted? What was taken from me? A pause. I'm texting you an address. Be there in 1 hour, alone. Or Marcus Kane starts receiving pieces of people he cares about. Don't listen to him, Marcus said quietly. Konstantin laughed. Is that Kane? How domestic. Tell me, Marcus, does she know you watched her for 2 years before making contact? That you orchestrated this entire... Marcus grabbed the phone, ended the call. The silence was deafening. What did he mean? Orchestrated? My voice shook. Emma, what did he mean? The text came through. An address. Brooklyn, the old industrial district. Marcus reached for the phone, but I pulled away. I'm going. Absolutely not. He'll kill people? He'll kill you. Marcus's voice cracked with fury. That's the point. He wants you alone so he can take you, use you. This is a trap. Then come with me. Bring your men, but I'm going. I stood, met his eyes. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not running. I spent 5 years being afraid of shadows. I'm done. Something shifted in his expression. Not approval exactly. Understanding. You don't get to die being brave, Emma. That's not how this works. Then keep me alive. I moved closer. That's what you promised, isn't it? For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then he pulled out his phone, made 3 calls in rapid succession. When he finished, he looked at me with something dark and almost proud. We leave in 20 minutes. You stay in the car. You follow every order I give. And if anything goes wrong, it won't. If anything goes wrong, he continued, James drives you straight to the police. You tell them everything. About me. About Constantine. About all of it. Marcus? Promise me. I promised. 23 minutes later, we pulled up to a warehouse that looked abandoned. 3 other black cars flanked us. Marcus's men moved like shadows. Weapons I wasn't supposed to see held with professional ease. The warehouse doors were open. A single light burned inside. Marcus turned to me. Stay here. Lock the doors. If I'm not back in 15 minutes. Gunfire erupted. Not from inside. From behind us. Muzzle flashes in the dark. Glass shattering. James threw the car into drive and we lurched forward as Marcus and his men returned fire, using the cars as cover. I saw Marcus go down. Not shot. Tackled. 3 men in masks dragging him toward a van that appeared from nowhere. I didn't think, just moved. Grabbed James's backup gun from the glove box. He'd shown me where it was, just in case, and ran. Heard him shouting behind me, but I didn't stop. The men had Marcus halfway to the van when I fired into the air. They froze, turned, let him go. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the gun. One of them laughed, started toward me. Marcus twisted, broke free, took 2 of them down in movements too fast to follow. The third raised his weapon. Time stopped. Then the man fell, hole in his chest, my ears ringing from the gunshot I didn't remember firing. Marcus caught me as my knees gave out. What the hell were you thinking? That I wasn't watching you die. His grip tightened. Behind us, sirens wailed. His men were shouting, securing the perimeter. The warehouse was empty. Of course it was. A setup. We need to move. James appeared. Blood on his jacket, but moving fine. Police are 2 minutes out. Marcus pulled me toward the car, but I stopped, looked back at the warehouse. Someone was standing in the doorway now. Tall, dark hair, watching us with a smile I could feel more than see. Constantine. He raised one hand, waved, then disappeared into darkness. In the car, Marcus pressed something into my palm. A photograph. Me, 5 years younger, leaving a courthouse, testifying. Someone had drawn a target over my face. On the back, in elegant script. She was chosen as a message, Marcus. For every life you took from me, I take something from you. And she's just the beginning. The penthouse felt different when we returned. Not safer, just different. Like a place where pretending had stopped being possible. Marcus's men swept every room anyway. Protocol. I sat on the couch in the main room, still wearing James's jacket over my blood-spattered shirt, and watched them work with mechanical efficiency. No one mentioned that I'd fired a gun, that I'd killed someone, that his blood was still under my fingernails. Marcus ended a phone call and crouched in front of me, not touching but close. Emma, look at me. I did. His face was bruised along the jaw, split lip, but his eyes were steady. You saved my life tonight. I killed someone. My voice sounded far away. Belonged to someone else? Yes, you did. He didn't soften it, didn't lie. A man who would have killed me. Then you? Then everyone in that car? You made a choice. The right one. It doesn't feel right. It won't. Not for a while. He sat back on his heels. But you're alive. I'm alive. That's what matters. James appeared with a first aid kit. Marcus waved him off, but I took it. Opened it on the coffee table. I'm fine. Sit down and let me. Something flickered in his expression. He sat. I cleaned the cut on his lip with careful hands, hyper-aware of every breath, every flinch he didn't make. This close, I could see the scars, small ones, faded, along his temple and jaw. Maps of violence survived. How many times? I asked quietly. How many times what? Have you almost died? He considered lying. I saw it cross his face, then decided against it. Enough that I stopped counting. Not enough to make me careful. Maybe you should be. Maybe. His hand came up, caught my wrist gently, not pulling away, just holding. But then, I wouldn't have been in that cafe, and you wouldn't be here. Our eyes met. The air shifted, charged with something I wasn't ready to name. I pulled back first. Finished bandaging. Put distance between us because I needed it. We need to talk about rules, Marcus said, standing. All business now. If you're staying here, if we're doing this, there have to be boundaries. I'm listening. He paced to the window, hands in his pockets. The city glittered behind him like broken glass. 3 rules, non-negotiable. 1, you don't leave this building without security. Not to the corner store, not to check the mail, nowhere. Constantine has your scent now. He won't stop. I wanted to argue. Didn't. Okay. 2, you don't contact anyone from your past. Friends, family, old co-workers, anyone who knew you before. If Constantine hasn't found them yet, he will, and he'll use them. That one hurt. The few threads connecting me to my old life, severed, but he was right. I nodded. 3, you tell me everything. About Boston, about Constantine, about what you remember and what you've buried. No secrets. Not anymore. Why? Because secrets get people killed, because I can't protect you from threats I don't understand. He turned to face me fully. Because if we're doing this, really doing this, then I need to know who you were before I can keep you safe now. The weight of it settled over me like snow. Heavy and cold and inevitable. I get one rule too, I said. His eyebrow raised. Do you? Yes. I stood, walked toward him, stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see his pupils dilate, far enough to maintain my ground. You don't touch me without permission, ever. Not to comfort me, not to move me, not for any reason. If I want your hands on me, I'll tell you. The silence stretched between us like wire. That's fair, he said finally, voice rough. And you tell me the truth. About why you've been watching me. About what Constantine meant, that you orchestrated this. About what you really want from me. Emma, those are my terms. Take them, or I walk out that door right now and take my chances with Constantine alone. It was a bluff. Mostly. But something in my delivery made it land. Marcus studied me for a long moment, then nodded, sharp and final. Deal. The tension broke. I exhaled. Hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath. It's 4 a.m., he said. You should sleep. We'll talk more tomorrow. But I didn't move. Couldn't. The adrenaline was finally crashing and taking me with it. My hands started shaking, then my arms, then everything. Emma, don't. I held up a hand, stopping him from coming closer even as I wanted him to. Just don't. I need to do this alone. You don't have to be alone. Yes, I do. My voice cracked. I've spent 5 years teaching myself to be fine alone, to not need anyone. If I let you, if I start depending on you, then what happens when you're gone? When Constantine wins? When this all falls apart? It won't. You can't promise that. No, he agreed. But I can promise I'll fight like hell to make sure it doesn't. The tears came then, hot and furious. I hated them. Hated that he was seeing me break. But I couldn't stop. Marcus stayed where he was. Didn't move closer, respecting the boundary I'd just drawn. But his voice was soft when he spoke. I won't touch you. But I'm not leaving either. So you can fall apart if you need to. I'll still be here when you're done. And he was. I cried until there was nothing left. Sat on the floor with my back against the couch, arms wrapped around my knees, and let 5 years of fear and grief and exhausted pretending pour out. Marcus sat across from me, back against the opposite wall, silent witness to my unraveling. When I finally stopped, the sky was turning gray with early light. "Better?" he asked. "No, but emptier." I wiped my face with my sleeve. "Thank you. For not. You set a boundary. I respect boundaries." He stood, offered his hand, then remembered and withdrew it. "Come on. I'll show you how to work the security system in your wing, so you feel safe." He taught me the codes, the panic buttons, the way to lock down entire floors, showed me where he kept weapons, just in case, and made me practice the sequences until my exhausted brain memorized them. At my door, he paused. "For what it's worth, Emma, I'm sorry. For all of it. For watching you without permission. For pulling you into this mess. For not being fast enough tonight. You were fast enough. I'm alive. Barely." His jaw tightened. "That can't happen again. Then we'll be smarter." "No. Then you'll stay here where it's safe and let me handle Constantine." The protectiveness in his voice should have annoyed me. Instead, it felt like armor I was borrowing, heavy but necessary. "Good night, Marcus." "Good night, Emma." I closed the door, locked it, then slid down to sit with my back against it, listening to his footsteps fade down the hall. I lasted 6 hours before the nightmares woke me. Not the usual ones about Boston, about Constantine's hands and the gallery and the things I'd tried to forget. Different ones, the warehouse, the gun in my hand, the man falling, over and over, in an infinite loop of cause and effect. I gave up on sleep at 2 p.m., showered until the water ran cold, and found Marcus in his office surrounded by photographs and documents. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. "Coffee?" he offered, gesturing to a full pot. "God, yes." We drank in silence for a while. Then he pushed a folder toward me. "These are the men from last night. 2 are in the hospital. 1 is dead. You..." He cleared his throat. "The one you shot, Mikhail Petrov, low-level enforcer, ties to Constantine's old organization, but nothing recent we can prove. Does his family know?" Marcus's expression softened slightly. "He doesn't have family. That's how Constantine recruits, people with nothing to lose and no one to mourn them." It should have made me feel better. It didn't. "What about the warehouse? Was there anything inside?" "Just this." He pulled out an evidence bag. Inside was a bracelet, silver, delicate, familiar. My stomach dropped. "That's mine, from Boston. I threw it away 5 years ago. He's been planning this for a long time, Emma. Collecting pieces of you. Building a case for possession." Marcus's voice was tight with controlled fury. "He wants you to know he's been close, that he could have taken you any time but chose to wait." "Why wait?" "Because taking you from me is better than taking you when you're alone. More painful, more symbolic." He closed the file. "He's not just obsessed with you, Emma. He's obsessed with destroying me. You're the weapon he's chosen." I set down my coffee, hands shaking too much to hold it steady. Then maybe I should leave, disappear, take away the weapon. He'd find you in a week, and then I wouldn't be there to stop what happens next. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on his desk. "I know this is terrifying. I know you didn't ask for any of it. But running isn't the answer. Then what is? We end him, permanently." The coldness in his voice made me shiver. I should have done it 5 years ago. I won't make that mistake again. How? Let me worry about that. You just... No. I stood, sudden clarity cutting through the fog. No more. Let me handle it. I'm not a damsel locked in a tower waiting to be saved or stolen. I'm part of this whether I want to be or not. So either you include me, or what? He stood too, moving around the desk. You'll storm another warehouse? Fire another gun? Get yourself killed trying to prove you're brave enough. I already proved that. You proved you're reckless, but there was no heat in his words. Just exhaustion. Emma, I can't... He stopped himself, ran a hand through his hair. I can't watch you die. Do you understand that? I've spent 2 years making sure you stayed alive. I'm not going to let Constantine or your own stubbornness undo that now. Why? The question burst out of me. Desperate. Why do you care so much? You said you watched me for 2 years. You orchestrated this meeting. You've built your entire protection around me like I'm some precious thing you're terrified of losing. Why? What am I to you? He stared at me for a long moment. Something raw and unguarded flickered across his face. Then his phone rang. He glanced at it. Cursed. I have to take this. Marcus, we'll finish this conversation. I promise. He answered the phone, voice shifting to cold authority. What is it? I watched his expression change, watched the color drain from his face. When? He demanded. How? A pause. Lock down the building, no one in or out. I'll be right there. He hung up, looked at me with eyes like winter storms. What happened? My warehouse in Queens, the one where I keep sensitive documents, financial records, evidence. His voice was eerily calm. It's burning. Started 20 minutes ago. Fire department says it's arson. Constantine. Yes, but that's not the problem. He grabbed his jacket, already moving. The problem is the accelerant they used, the pattern of ignition, the timing. He stopped at the door, turned back. It's identical to a fire 5 years ago, the one that killed Constantine's brother during the raid in Boston. My blood went cold. You think? I think someone on my team told him exactly how we did it. I think we have a traitor. And I think they just handed Constantine the blueprint to destroy everything I've built. His expression hardened. Including you. His phone buzzed. A text. He looked at it and his face went deadly pale. He showed me the screen, a photograph. His apartment building. Taken from across the street. Today. Time-stamped 15 minutes ago. Below it. I'm already inside, Marcus. And I brought a gift for Emma. Check her room. We ran. Down the hall, my door was open. I knew I'd locked it. Marcus pulled a gun from his shoulder holster, moved in first, efficient and lethal. The room was empty, except for what was on the bed. A dress, white, vintage, beautiful. The one I'd worn to the gallery opening in Boston 5 years ago. The last night I'd seen Constantine. The night everything had broken. Pinned to it was a note in elegant script. Wear this tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the plaza rooftop. Come alone or Marcus dies. Come at all. And maybe, just maybe, I'll tell you the truth about who's really been watching you all these years. About who arranged for you to spill that coffee. About who's been playing puppet master since the very beginning. Spoiler, Angel. It's not who you think. The dress hung on my door like an accusation. I couldn't stop staring at it. White silk, delicate beading along the neckline. The exact shade of cream I'd chosen so carefully 5 years ago, because Constantine said it made me look like an angel. I'd loved that dress once. Loved how it made me feel beautiful and chosen and special. Now it looked like a shroud. Marcus was on the phone in the hallway, voice low and lethal, coordinating sweeps of the building, demanding answers no one could give. How Constantine's people got past security. How they knew which room was mine. How they walked in and out like ghosts. I reached out, touched the fabric. It was real, warm from being recently handled. He'd been in my room, while we were running down the hall, while Marcus was checking the warehouse footage, while I was drinking coffee and pretending I could survive this. Constantine had been here, breathing my air, touching my things. The violation of it made my skin crawl. I don't touch it. Marcus appeared behind me, holstering his gun. It's evidence. We're testing it for prints, DNA, anything. It won't matter. My voice was flat. He's too careful for that. He always was. Marcus moved closer, not quite touching. Tell me about Boston, about him. Everything you remember. I pulled my hand back from the dress, wrapped my arms around myself. I don't want to. I know. But Constantine said he'd tell you the truth tomorrow night, about who arranged the coffee, about who's been watching you. His expression was carved from stone. Emma, if there's any chance he's telling the truth, if someone on my side set you up, I need to know what I'm walking into. You're not walking into anything. I'm going alone. Absolutely not. He'll kill you if I don't. He'll take you if you do. And that's worse. Marcus stepped around me, positioned himself between me and the dress like he could shield me from a memory. Please, just talk to me. I looked at him, really looked, saw the exhaustion carved into the lines around his eyes, the set of his jaw that meant he was barely holding himself together, the way his hands kept flexing like they wanted to reach for me but remembered the rules. Okay, I whispered. Okay. We went to his office. He poured 2 whiskeys, handed me one, and waited. I took a drink, then another, then started talking. I moved to Boston right after college. Had nothing, just a design degree and a portfolio. Got a job at a small firm doing corporate branding. Hated it. Then one night I went to a gallery opening because the wine was free and I was broke. I stared into the amber liquid. That's where I met him. Marcus sat across from me, perfectly still, listening. Konstantin Volkov. He said he owned the gallery. Said he was looking for a designer to help with catalogs and provenance documents for estate sales. The pay was incredible, triple what I was making. And he was... I stopped, the words bitter on my tongue. Charming, attentive. He made me feel seen in a way no one ever had. How long before you started dating? 3 months. He took it slow, never pushed. Just gradually became the center of my world. I laughed, sharp and humorless. I thought I was falling in love. Didn't realize I was falling into a trap. When did you find out what he really was? The memory hit me like a physical blow. I drank more whiskey. Liquid courage. 6 months in, I went to his apartment unannounced. Romantic surprise. I'd cooked dinner, brought wine, had this whole thing planned. My hands were shaking. The door was unlocked. I walked in calling his name, and I stopped, couldn't continue. Marcus's voice was gentle. What did you see? Blood. So much blood. A man tied to a chair in the middle of his pristine living room. Konstantin standing over him with... I pressed my hand to my mouth, fighting nausea. He turned around and looked at me, and he smiled. Like I'd caught him doing something mildly embarrassing, not torturing someone. What did you do? I ran. Got to the elevator. He caught me before the doors closed. The tears came now, hot and fast. He grabbed my arm. Here. I pushed up my sleeve, showed Marcus the faint scar circling my wrist. His ring cut me when I tried to pull away. He said, Angel, you weren't supposed to see that yet. We need to talk about boundaries. Marcus's expression went deadly cold. Yet, that's when I knew that he'd been planning to show me eventually, that he'd been grooming me for something. I pulled my sleeve back down. He took me back inside, made me sit and watch while he finished. Said I needed to understand his world if we were going to have a future together. The man in the chair, embezzler, had stolen from Konstantin's organization. I didn't understand what that meant yet. Didn't know he ran half the Russian Mafia's art forgery operations on the East Coast. I finished my whiskey. Marcus immediately refilled it. He killed him, made me watch. Then he cleaned up, changed clothes, and took me to dinner like nothing happened. Why didn't you go to the police? I tried. The next morning, went straight to a precinct. My laugh was broken. The detective I talked to called Konstantin while I was sitting there, said I was making wild accusations. Konstantin showed up with his lawyer and convinced them I was having a mental health crisis. Showed them texts I didn't remember sending about anxiety and depression. Medical records that didn't exist. He'd planned for it. He'd planned for everything. I met Marcus's eyes. That's when he told me about the design work I'd been doing. The provenance documents weren't for legitimate estate sales. They were for stolen art, forgeries, laundered money. And my name was on everything. My signature, my work. Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. He made you complicit. I was facing 20 years for fraud and conspiracy. He was facing nothing. He'd kept himself completely clean. And he said if I tried to leave, if I went to the police again, if I did anything but exactly what he told me, he'd make sure I went to prison. I wrapped my arms around myself. So I stayed. For 3 months, I stayed and did what he wanted and pretended I was fine. What changed? A friend, Sarah, she worked at the gallery, started asking questions about some of the pieces we were selling. Said something felt off. My voice cracked. I told her to stop, to let it go, but she kept digging. And Konstantin found out. Marcus leaned forward. Emma, he took her. Called me and told me to come to a warehouse if I wanted to see her alive again. The scene played behind my eyes, vivid and terrible. When I got there, she was tied up, terrified. He said I had to choose. Prove my loyalty by... I couldn't say it. Or he'd kill her and frame me for it. What did you do? I grabbed a pipe and hit him, hard, gave Sarah enough time to run. Then I ran too. I touched my ribs unconsciously. where he'd kicked me when he caught me at the door. He broke 2 ribs, told me I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, that he owned me, that I'd never be free. How did you get away? Luck. Pure luck. The police raided the warehouse 20 minutes later. Some anonymous tip about the forgery operation. I was bleeding on the floor. They found me first, and when Constantine ran, there was a fire, started by my team, to destroy evidence and to trap the people inside. Marcus's voice was rough. That's when his brother died. I didn't know that then. I just knew I had a chance. The FBI made me a deal: cooperate, testify about the documents I'd created, and they'd give me immunity. I met his eyes. So I did. I told them everything, gave them files, emails, proof. They arrested 14 people, but Constantine disappeared before they could touch him. And you thought he was dead. They told me he was probably dead, that men like him don't survive their organizations collapsing, that I was safe. I laughed bitterly. They put me in informal witness protection. New name, new city, new life, and I believed them. For 5 years, I believed them. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, the scars on your wrists, the ones he mentioned on the phone. I looked down, pulled back my sleeves. The thin white lines were barely visible now, but they were there. Railroad tracks from a different kind of escape attempt. 3 weeks after I testified, I was alone in a hotel room waiting for my new identity paperwork. And my voice broke. I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't keep pretending I was strong enough to survive what he'd done to me. What I'd let him do. Emma. Marcus's voice was devastated. Obviously, I survived. The hotel maid found me, hospital, therapy, the whole thing. I pulled my sleeves back down. That's when I decided I'd never let anyone have that kind of power over me again. Never let anyone close enough to break me. Until now. Until you. I looked at him. This dangerous man who'd watched me for 2 years, who'd orchestrated our meeting, who'd pulled me into his world without permission. And that terrifies me, Marcus. Because Constantine's right. Someone's been playing puppet master. Someone arranged for me to spill that coffee. Someone wanted me in your life. And if it's not you, it's not me. His voice was absolute. Emma, I swear on everything I have, I didn't arrange that meeting. I was watching you, yes. Planning to approach you eventually, yes. But the coffee was accident, pure chance. Then who? The question hung between us like smoke. Who else would want me in your life badly enough to orchestrate it? His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression went carefully blank. What is it? Security footage. From the lobby this morning. He turned the phone toward me. This is the person who delivered the dress. On the screen, a woman in a delivery uniform walked through the lobby carrying a garment bag, hat pulled low, mask covering her face. She moved with confidence, like she belonged, but it was her height that caught my attention, her build, the way she walked. That's not a delivery person, I said slowly. No, it's not. Marcus zoomed in on her hands. On one finger, barely visible, was a ring. Gold, with a distinctive setting. I know that ring, I whispered. Sarah wore one just like it. My friend from Boston, the one Constantine took. We stared at each other as the implications settled like lead. She's alive, I said, and she's working for him. Or he has her. Marcus stood, already moving. Either way, it means Constantine has been planning this for 5 years, using people you trust. People you'd never suspect. My phone rang. Unknown number. Again. Marcus nodded. I answered. Put it on speaker. Constantine's voice poured out like honey and poison. Did you get my gift, Angel? Do you like it? I had it cleaned specially. The blood came out beautifully. What blood? My voice shook. From that night, when you betrayed me, when you chose that whore Sarah over me. He laughed, soft and terrible. Did Marcus show you the security footage yet? Did you recognize your dear friend? What did you do to her? Nothing she didn't deserve. Nothing you won't experience yourself if you disappoint me again. His voice hardened. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the plaza rooftop. You wear that dress, you come alone, and maybe, just maybe, I'll let you see her before I decide whether she lives or dies. This is between us, I said, desperate. Leave her out of it. But she's already in it, Angel. She's been in it since the moment she asked questions she shouldn't have asked. Since the moment you chose her over me. A pause. Tell Marcus something for me. Tell him his father says hello from hell. And tell him the fire that killed his father 5 years ago. The heart attack that was so convenient. That was me. Payment for my brother. And now, his voice dropped to a whisper. Now I'm collecting interest. The line went dead. I looked at Marcus. His face had gone white. Absolutely bloodless. Your father? I said quietly. The heart attack wasn't a heart attack. His voice was barely controlled. He was poisoned. We could never prove it. Never found who. He looked at me with eyes like winter storms. Constantine just confessed to murdering my father. He wants you to come tomorrow night. He wants you angry and reckless. Then he'll get what he wants. Marcus's smile was terrible. But not the way he expects. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Luca, I need everyone. Every resource, every contact, every favor I'm owed. We have 18 hours to find Konstantin Volkov and end this. A pause. No, not capture. End. He hung up. Looked at me. I'm still going tomorrow, I said before he could argue. Sarah is alive because of me. Because I couldn't save her 5 years ago. I won't abandon her again. He'll kill you both. Maybe. Or maybe I'm the only person who can get close enough to him to finish this. I stood, moved toward him, stopped just outside touching distance. You said you've been watching me for 2 years, that you know everything about me. Then you know I'm not fragile. You know I survived him once. I can do it again. The cost. I've already paid it. I held his gaze. Let me choose this, Marcus. Let me be part of ending him, instead of just the thing you protect. Please. Something in his expression cracked. If anything happens to you, it won't, because you'll be there, hidden, waiting. And when Constantine thinks he's won, I smiled, sharp and cold. We'll show him what checkmate really looks like. Marcus studied me for a long moment, then nodded, sharp and final. Okay, but we do this my way, with my plan. And you follow every order I give without question. Deal. He pulled out his laptop, started typing. Then we have work to do, and 18 hours to teach you how to survive a monster. My phone buzzed, a video message, unknown sender. I opened it with shaking hands. The screen showed Sarah, older, thinner, terrified, tied to a chair in a room I didn't recognize. She looked directly at the camera. Emma, her voice was hoarse, like she'd been screaming. I'm sorry for everything. He made me. He said if I didn't help him find you, he'd kill my sister, my mom, everyone. Tears streamed down her face. I've been watching you for him, for 2 years. The job openings you applied for, the apartments you looked at, everything. She sobbed. I'm the one who told him about the cafe, about your routine. I'm the one who made sure Marcus Kane would be there that morning. The video cut to Constantine smiling. Surprise, Angel. It was never fate. It was never chance. It was me. Always me. Every moment of the last 2 years. He leaned closer to the camera. I've been arranging your entire life, leading you exactly where I wanted you, into Marcus Kane's arms, into his protection, making you trust him, need him, love him. His smile widened. Because taking you from him is so much sweeter when you finally learn to feel safe again. See you tomorrow night, Angel. Wear the dress, say goodbye to Sarah, and prepare to come home where you belong. The screen went black. Marcus didn't sleep that night. Neither did I. We sat in his war room, because that's what it was, I realized. Surrounded by monitors showing security feeds, maps of the city, photographs of Constantine's known associates. Luca and 3 other men I'd never met worked phones and computers with military precision. No. I stood, moved to the table. He'll know. He's been watching me for 2 years. He'll recognize the way I move, the way I hold myself. You put someone else in that dress and Sarah dies before your decoy reaches the elevator. She might already be dead, Luca said quietly. Not cruel, just tactical. She's not. I was certain of it, bone deep. He needs her alive, as bait, as leverage. as proof that he's been orchestrating everything. I met Marcus's eyes. I have to go. You know I do. His jaw was granite. Then we control the variables. Every single one. For the next 6 hours, they taught me how to survive. Luca showed me the wire I'd wear, so small it was invisible, sewn into the dress's beading. We'll hear everything. The moment you're in danger, we move. Marcus handed me a ring. Put this on your right hand. Press the stone twice fast. It activates a tracking beacon. 3 times, it releases a knockout gas, limited radius, but enough to buy you 30 seconds. And if neither works, his expression went dark, then you do what you did at the warehouse. You survive, whatever it takes. They ran scenarios. What if Constantine searched me for weapons? What if he moved Sarah to a different location? What if he had snipers? What if he had bombs? Every terrible possibility mapped and planned for. Around 4 a.m., Luca's phone rang. He listened, face grim, then hung up. We found Sarah's mother, Boston. She's been dead for 6 months, staged to look like natural causes. I felt the blood drain from my face. Her sister? Still looking, but if he killed the mother, he has nothing holding Sarah compliant anymore. Marcus stood, paced to the window, which means she's either completely broken to him or she's planning something. Either way, it's a variable we can't control. She tried to warn me, I said quietly. In the video, the way she emphasized certain words, he made me, and 2 years, and I stopped, replaying it in my mind. She said she told him about the cafe, about my routine, past tense, like she's not doing it anymore. Marcus turned. You think she's turned against him? I think she's survived him for 5 years and she's looking for a way out. Just like I did. I met his eyes. Which means tomorrow night isn't just about Constantine taking me. It's about him proving he still owns her. That betrayal has consequences. He's going to kill her in front of you, Luca said. Use it to break you before he takes you. Or, Marcus's voice went sharp with realization. He's going to make Emma choose, him or Sarah, loyalty or friendship. Force her to prove she'll pick him the way she didn't 5 years ago. The room went silent. I won't, I said, voice steady. Whatever he asks, whatever he threatens, I won't choose him. Not again. Marcus crossed to me. Stopped just close enough that I could feel the heat of him. Then we make sure you don't have to choose. We end him before he gets that far. How? His smile was terrible and beautiful. By giving him exactly what he wants. You, walking in alone, wearing his dress, playing his game. And then, he pulled out a photograph. Constantine, younger, standing with another man I didn't recognize. We show him what it looks like when someone he loves is taken from him. I looked at the photograph. Who is that? His son, Alexei Volkov, 23 years old, art student in Paris. Constantine keeps him completely separate from the business. Clean, protected. Marcus's voice was cold as winter. He's the one thing Constantine actually loves. The one vulnerability he has. You're going to take him. I'm going to make Constantine think I've taken him. Give him a taste of what it feels like to lose someone. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed me a series of photographs. Alexei at a cafe. Leaving his apartment, walking through a museum, all taken in the last 24 hours. My people are watching him. The moment you walk into that plaza, we take him into protective custody. Then we call Constantine and tell him his son's location depends on your safe return. I stopped. Was going to say wrong, but was it? He's innocent. So were you. So is Sarah. So are the 14 people Constantine killed building his empire. Marcus's voice was steel. I'm not hurting the kid, Emma. Just relocating him until his father learns some manners. Temporarily. Luca cleared his throat. We have another problem. The FBI. Marcus cursed. What about them? They're investigating the warehouse fire. Found accelerant patterns that match Boston. They know it's connected to the old case. He pulled up an email. Agent Morrison wants to bring Emma in for questioning, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Stall him. For how long? If she doesn't show, they'll issue a warrant. Then let them. Marcus turned to me. Emma, listen carefully. Tomorrow morning, you're going to that FBI office. You're going to tell them everything. About Constantine's call, about the threat, about Sarah, all of it. I stared at him. You want me to bring in the FBI? I want them as backup we can't control but can use. Morrison isn't on Constantine's payroll, I've checked. He's clean, ambitious, but clean. Marcus pulled up a file. You tell him about tomorrow night. He'll want to set up a sting. You let him. Then we have 2 operations running simultaneously, mine and theirs, and Constantine has to split his attention. What if they arrest you? They won't. I haven't done anything illegal in 4 years. Everything I've built since Boston is clean. His smile was sharp. Everything they can prove, anyway. Luca's phone rang again. He listened, face going carefully blank, then hung up and looked at Marcus. We have a problem. A big one. How big? Your brother just landed at JFK. The room went silent. I looked at Marcus. You have a brother? His expression was carved from stone. Half-brother, Dmitri Kane, my father's son from his first marriage, Russian mother, raised in Moscow until he was 15. He sat heavily. We haven't spoken in 3 years. Why? Because he wanted control of the family business when our father died, and I said no. Because he thought I went too legitimate, too soft. Because... Marcus stopped himself. Because he's everything I'm trying not to be. And he's here now, Luca said quietly. Which means either he heard about Constantine and wants to help, or Constantine contacted him. Marcus stood, moved to a console, pulled up airport security footage. A man who looked like a harder, colder version of Marcus walked through customs with 2 bodyguards. Dmitri always thought I handled Boston wrong, that I should have killed Constantine cleanly instead of letting the FBI get involved. If Constantine offered him a chance to prove I'm weak... His phone rang. He looked at the screen and closed his eyes. It's him. Answer it, I said. We need to know which side he's on. Marcus answered. Put it on speaker. Dmitri. Little brother. The voice was similar to Marcus's but with a Russian accent underneath. I hear you have a problem. Thought I'd come help you solve it. I don't need your help. No. Because from where I'm standing, you're about to lose everything over some girl you've been playing White Knight for. A pause. I met Konstantin Volkov 6 months ago. Paris. He told me a very interesting story about how you destroyed his operation, about his brother dying in a fire you started, about a woman you've been obsessed with for 2 years. Marcus's hand tightened on the phone. What do you want? To offer advice. Brother to brother. Dimitri's voice hardened. Give him the girl. She's not worth what he'll do to you if you refuse, not worth what he'll do to all of us. Our father's empire didn't survive 40 years so you could burn it down over a woman who isn't even yours. She's not a thing to be given. In our world, everything is a thing to be given, taken, or sold. You taught me that. A pause. I'm at the Four Seasons. Room 2408. Come see me. Let's discuss this like men, or don't, and watch everything father built collapse because you couldn't let go of a guilt fantasy. The line went dead. I looked at Marcus. His face was unreadable. Guilt fantasy? He thinks I'm trying to save you because I feel guilty about Boston, about what happened to you there. Marcus set down his phone with careful control. He's not entirely wrong. Is that what this is? My voice was sharp. Guilt? Penance? You've been watching me for 2 years because you feel responsible for what Constantine did? No. He turned to face me fully. Emma, I've been watching you because the night of that raid, I saw you on the security footage, saw you hit Constantine with that pipe, saw you fight him even though you were terrified, saw you protect your friend even though it meant sacrificing yourself. His voice dropped, and I saw strength I recognized. The same kind my mother had before my father's world destroyed her. The same kind I wish I'd been able to protect. The admission hung between us like smoke. Your mother died when I was 12. My father's enemies took her, used her, sent her back broken. His expression was devastated. I found her. I was the one who... He stopped, breathed. When I saw you on that footage, I saw her, and I decided if I couldn't save her, maybe I could save you. Maybe I could make sure no one else ended up like she did. Marcus, I moved closer. I'm not your mother. I'm not your redemption. I'm just... I know. He met my eyes. I know that. And somewhere over the last 2 years of watching you rebuild yourself, of seeing you survive and adapt and refuse to be destroyed, it stopped being about guilt. It became about... He stopped himself. It doesn't matter. What matters is getting you through tomorrow alive. It matters to me. I was close enough to touch him now. Close enough to break my own rule. Tell me, why does it matter so much that I survive? Really? He stared at me for a long moment. Then his phone buzzed. Luca's voice came through. Boss, we have a situation. FBI just surrounded the building. Agent Morrison is in the lobby with a warrant. For both of you. Marcus closed his eyes. Of course he is. What do we do? Let them up. We have nothing to hide. He looked at me. And Emma? When Morrison asks what I am to you, what are you going to say? It was a test. A question. A confession all at once. The truth, I said quietly. That you're the man who's been keeping me alive, and that I'm choosing to stay. Something shifted in his expression, not quite hope, but close. The elevator dinged. Agent Morrison walked in with 4 other agents, gun holstered but ready. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that cataloged everything. Marcus Kane, Emma Hayes. He held up a warrant. We have reason to believe you're both in danger and potentially obstructing an ongoing federal investigation. We need you to come with us. Now. On what grounds? Marcus's voice was perfectly calm. On the grounds that Konstantin Volkov contacted Ms. Hayes directly, made terrorist threats, and you failed to report it. Morrison looked at me. You were supposed to come in this morning, Ms. Hayes. When you didn't show, we had to assume you were either compromised or complicit. I was planning to come in. After meeting with the man who tortured you 5 years ago, Morrison pulled out his phone, showed us surveillance footage. The plaza. Tonight. Marked positions for snipers and tactical teams. We've been monitoring Volkov's communications for 6 months. We know about tomorrow night. We know he has Sarah Chen. And we know, he looked at Marcus, that you're planning to interfere with a federal operation. I'm planning to keep Emma alive. If that interferes with your paperwork, I apologize. Morrison's expression hardened. This isn't a joke, Kane. Volkov has already killed 4 people this week. We have bodies. We have evidence. And we have a chance to end him tomorrow night if you don't screw it up by playing hero. Then work with us, I said. Both men turned to look at me. Agent Morrison, I know you want to arrest Konstantin. Marcus wants him dead. Maybe there's a middle ground where everyone gets what they want, and I don't end up as collateral damage. Morrison studied me, then Marcus, then pulled out a chair and sat. You have 5 minutes to convince me why I shouldn't arrest you both right now and put you in protective custody until this is over. Marcus smiled, sharp and dangerous, because if you put us in custody, Konstantin kills Sarah and disappears. But if you let us run our operation alongside yours... He pulled out a laptop, turned it toward Morrison. You get Konstantin, his entire network, and evidence of every crime he's committed since Boston, including the murder of my father, including at least 8 other unsolved homicides, including financial records that will take down half his organization. Morrison leaned forward, eyes scanning the screen. How did you get this? I've been investigating him for 5 years. You've been investigating him for 6 months. I have resources you don't. And Emma... Marcus looked at me. She has access you can't buy or threaten. She's the only person who can get close enough to him to finish this. You're asking me to use a civilian as bait. I'm asking you to let a woman who survived him once do it again. On her terms, with backup. Marcus's voice was steel. You can be part of that backup or you can watch from the outside. Your choice. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want full operational control. Emma wears our wire. My team runs the tactical. And if anything goes wrong, anything, we extract her immediately and you stay out of the way. Deal, I said before Marcus could argue. But I have conditions too. Both men looked at me. Sarah comes out alive. That's non-negotiable. And if Konstantin tries to hurt her, if your operation requires sacrificing her for the case, then the deal is off and I walk. Morrison considered, then nodded. Agreed. But Ms. Hayes, you need to understand something. Men like Konstantin don't lose gracefully. Tomorrow night, when he realizes we've beaten him, he'll try to take as many people down with him as possible. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the dress hanging in my room, about 5 years of running, about Sarah tied to that chair, about Marcus watching me with those winter storm eyes and admitting I mattered. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." Morrison stood. "Then let's get to work. We have 16 hours to plan an operation that either ends Konstantin Volkov or gets everyone killed trying." He left with his agents. Luca and the others returned to their stations, and I stood alone with Marcus in the center of his war room, feeling the weight of what I'd just agreed to. "You didn't have to say yes," Marcus said quietly. "I would have found another way. There is no other way. You know that." I turned to face him. "But I need you to promise me something. Anything. If it comes down to choosing between catching Konstantin and saving me," I held his gaze. "You let me go. You get him. You end this. Don't let him disappear again because you were too busy being noble." "No, Marcus, no." He moved closer. Close enough that I could see the gold flecks in his gray eyes. "I've spent 5 years hunting him, 2 years protecting you. And tomorrow night, I'm going to do both. But if I have to choose," his voice dropped to barely a whisper, "I choose you every time. Even if it means he walks away. Even if it costs me everything. I choose you." The words hit me like a physical force. Want and terror and something deeper I wasn't ready to name. "Why?" My voice broke. "You barely know me. I know you saved my life at that warehouse. I know you're standing here planning to walk into hell because you won't abandon someone you love. I know you're terrified and doing it anyway." He raised his hand, stopped just short of touching my face, remembered the rule, lowered it, and I know that watching you survive is the only thing that's made me feel human in 5 years. So no, I won't sacrifice you. Not for Konstantin, not for justice, not for anything. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at this dangerous man who just handed me his throat and dared me to trust him. "Tomorrow night," I started. His phone rang. Dimitri's number. Marcus answered. Put it on speaker without being asked. "Little brother, the FBI just left your building. Very dramatic." Dimitri's voice was amused. "I assume you made some kind of deal, working together to catch the big bad Russian. How very American of you." "What do you want, Dimitri?" "To give you one last chance. I'm meeting with Konstantin in 2 hours. He wants to negotiate terms for Emma's return. He's willing to leave you and your business alone if you hand her over willingly. No one else dies. Clean trade. Civilized." A pause. "Say yes, and this ends tonight. Say no, and tomorrow becomes a bloodbath that destroys everything Father built. Choose wisely." Marcus looked at me. In his eyes, I saw the choice he'd already made. "Tell Konstantin." His voice was cold as death. "If he wants her, he'll have to go through me. And if he tries, I won't stop until his bloodline ends with his son watching everything he built burn. That's my counter-offer. Deliver it carefully." He hung up. I stared at him. "His son? You'd really—" "No. But Konstantin doesn't know that. And now he has to worry about Alexei and you and me and the FBI all at once." Marcus smiled. Terrible and beautiful. "I were about to show him what happens when you corner a king." His computer pinged. An email. He opened it and his face went white. "What is it?" He turned the screen toward me. Security footage from inside the plaza. Time-stamped 30 minutes ago. Sarah, cleaned up, dressed nicely, setting up a table on the rooftop. 2 chairs, candles, wine. Like she was preparing for a romantic dinner, and she was smiling. Not the smile of someone being coerced. The smile of someone planning something. Below the video, a message. "She's more loyal than you think, Emma. And tomorrow night, you'll finally understand which one of us she really chose. See you at 8. Don't be late. Your friend is so looking forward to seeing you again." Kay. I didn't tell Marcus what I was planning. Maybe because I knew he'd stop me. Maybe because some choices have to be made alone. In the dark spaces where protection becomes prison and love becomes another kind of cage. Maybe because after 5 years of running from my own decisions, I was finally ready to make one that mattered. Consequences be damned. At 6 a.m., I woke to find the penthouse quiet. Marcus had finally gone to sleep around 4 after 17 phone calls and a video conference with his team in Paris, confirming Alexei was secure. I'd pretended to sleep too, lying perfectly still in the dark. counting his footsteps as they faded down the hall toward his office. I waited another hour to be sure, listening to the building settle around me, feeling my heartbeat slow from panic to purpose. Then I got up and broke every promise I'd made. The dress still hung where I'd left it, ghostly white in the pre-dawn darkness. I touched it once, felt the weight of memory and threat woven into every thread, felt Constantine's intention embedded in the silk like a curse. For a moment, I imagined putting it on, becoming the angel he'd named me, playing the role he'd written. Then I turned away and made a different choice. I dressed in black jeans, boots that had seen me through 3 years of rebuilding my life, a dark sweater I could move in, clothes for fighting, not performing. I braided my hair tight the way I used to before everything fell apart in Boston, war paint disguised as practicality. My hands shook as I tied off the end, muscle memory fighting against 5 years of learned helplessness. In Marcus's office, I found the emergency safe he'd shown me 3 days ago. Insurance policy, he'd called it, voice casual like he wasn't handing me the keys to his kingdom. The code was my birthday, a detail that had made my chest tight when I'd realized it. I took enough cash for what I needed, left everything else untouched. On his desk, I placed a note that said only, "I'm sorry. Trust me." Not an explanation, not a goodbye, just a plea thrown into darkness, hoping he'd understand before it was too late, hoping he'd forgive me for choosing agency over safety, action over obedience. James was asleep in the car downstairs, head tilted back against the leather seat, radio playing soft jazz that drifted up through the slightly open window. I felt a spike of guilt watching him, this man who'd driven me everywhere, protected me without complaint, who'd called me ma'am, with genuine respect even when I was falling apart. He didn't deserve this betrayal, but Sarah didn't deserve what was happening to her either, and I was done letting other people pay for my survival. I slipped past lobby security through the service entrance Marcus's people had mapped yesterday during contingency planning. The irony wasn't lost on me, using his own escape routes against him, turning his protection into a prison break. But he'd taught me too well, taught me to think tactically, to see exits, to always have a backup plan. He just hadn't considered I might use those lessons to leave him. The city was just waking up. Gray November light spilling between buildings like dirty water finding cracks in concrete. Steam rose from subway grates. A garbage truck rumbled past. Somewhere close, a siren wailed and died. New York didn't care about my crisis. It just kept moving, indifferent and eternal. I caught a cab 3 blocks away. Gave an address in Queens I'd memorized from the files in Marcus's war room. A place Constantine owned through enough shell companies and legitimate fronts to make tracing ownership nearly impossible. A place Agent Morrison's people had been watching for 3 days, waiting for Constantine to make a mistake. I was betting my life he'd made one, that his arrogance would be the crack I could slip through. The building was a renovated warehouse turned luxury apartments, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of gentrification that pushes out neighborhood groceries and replaces them with artisanal coffee shops. Too nice for this part of Queens, too expensive for the legitimate income of anyone on the lease. Classic money laundering dressed up as urban renewal. I paid the cab, waited until it disappeared around the corner, then circled the block twice, looking for surveillance vans, for FBI agents in unmarked cars with coffee cups and binoculars, for Marcus's men inevitably tracking me despite my precautions. Nothing. Either I'd actually slipped away clean or everyone watching was better at hiding than I was at finding them. Both possibilities were terrifying in different ways. The lobby had marble floors and minimalist furniture that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. The doorman looked like he bench-pressed cars for fun. 6'4", neck wider than my thigh, eyes that cataloged threats with professional efficiency. He watched me approach with the flat expression of someone paid extremely well to ask no questions. "I'm here to see Konstantin Volkov." My voice came out steady. Small miracle considering my heart was trying to escape through my ribs. His expression didn't flicker. "Penthouse doesn't accept visitors. He'll accept me." I met his eyes, channeling every ounce of confidence Marcus had tried to teach me. "Tell him Emma Hayes is here. Tell him I'm early and I'm alone and I want to talk before tonight's performance." Something shifted in his face. Recognition, maybe, or orders followed. He picked up a phone, spoke in rapid Russian I couldn't follow, listened to a response that made his eyebrows rise slightly. Hung up. pointed to a glass elevator in the center of the lobby. Top floor. Don't touch anything you're not invited to touch. The threat was clear. I nodded and walked toward the elevator before my courage could fail. The ride up was glass and steel, rising through the building's center like a bullet through water. I watched the floors drop away beneath me, 10, 20, 30 stories of other people's lives, oblivious to the fact that someone was riding past their windows toward either salvation or destruction. My reflection in the glass looked like a stranger. Harder, older, ready. I thought about falling, about how easy it would be to break that glass, let gravity solve these impossible choices. I'd thought about it before, 5 years ago in that hotel room, when the weight of what I'd survived became too heavy to carry alone. But I'd woken up in a hospital with plastic bracelets and bandaged wrists and a therapist who'd asked very gently if I wanted to live. Turned out I did. Even damaged. Even terrified. Even standing in an elevator riding toward the man who'd tried to destroy me, armed with nothing but anger and a plan held together with hope and stupidity. The doors opened directly into the penthouse. Constantine stood by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, backlit by morning sun that turned him into a silhouette. Dark shape haloed in gold like some Renaissance painting of a fallen angel. He held a delicate china cup, steam rising from coffee that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. When he turned, his smile was exactly as I remembered, charming and terrible, predator recognizing prey who'd walked willingly into its teeth. Emma. My name in his mouth sounded like ownership, like he was tasting something he'd been denied too long. You're 7 hours early and wearing entirely the wrong costume. I'm disappointed. He looked older. 5 years had carved lines around his eyes, threaded distinguished silver through his dark hair. But his eyes were the same, pale blue, empty as winter sky, all assessment without warmth. He wore expensive casual clothes, tailored perfectly, the costume of a man who'd learned to hide his violence under layers of civilization. Where's Sarah? I didn't move from the elevator threshold, keeping my exit clear. Safe, comfortable. Currently sleeping off the sedative I gave her around 3 a.m. when she became inconveniently hysterical. He set down his coffee, moved closer with deliberate slowness. Testing, always testing. The question is, why are you here, Angel? Did Marcus Kane finally bore you with his noble protector routine? Did you wake up and remember what it feels like to make your own choices instead of hiding behind someone else's strength? I never hid behind him. No. He stopped 6 feet away, maintaining the distance I'd silently demanded. Even now, he was reading me, adjusting. Then why are you here? Why risk everything Marcus has built to protect you? Risk his trust, his carefully constructed plans, his noble intentions, just to walk into my home and demand answers. His smile widened, delighted and vicious. Unless he doesn't know you're here, unless you lied to him, snuck away like a thief stealing her own freedom back. He saw too much. Always had. That was the problem with intelligent monsters. They understood human nature in ways that made manipulation effortless. I came to make a deal. I'm listening. He gestured to a leather couch, playing host. Please, sit, coffee. I remember you take it black with too much sugar. Some things don't change. I'll stand. I stayed near the elevator. And no, some things do change. I'm not the woman you knew in Boston. Clearly, his eyes traveled over me, clinical and intimate at once. That woman would be shaking right now, crying maybe. Definitely not standing in my home making demands with her chin up like she's forgotten what I'm capable of. He tilted his head, genuinely curious. What did Marcus Kane do to you? How did he manage to rebuild what I so carefully broke? He didn't rebuild anything. I did that myself. The words came out sharp, true. He just made sure I survived long enough to finish. Something flickered in Constantine's expression. Respect, maybe, or reevaluation. Interesting. So the guard dog's been keeping watch while you healed. Very noble. Very doomed. He moved to a bar cart, poured himself whiskey despite the early hour. But you didn't come here for philosophical discussion. You said you wanted to make a deal. So deal. What are you offering and what do you want in return? I took a breath. This was it. The gamble I'd spent 3 hours planning in the dark while Marcus slept, believing I was safe in his fortress. You let Sarah go. Right now, you walk her to the FBI yourself, claim she was your hostage, Let her testify to whatever keeps her safe and free. I don't care what story you tell. I paused. And I'll give you what you actually want, which is me willingly. The words tasted like ash. Not tonight's performance, not your choreographed revenge. Just me, making a choice, coming back to you without Marcus's protection or FBI surveillance or any of the variables you can't control. The silence stretched between us like a wire pulled taut. Then Constantine laughed. Not the cruel sound I remembered, but something genuine and almost warm. Oh, Emma, sweet, brilliant, absolutely delusional Emma. He crossed to me in 3 strides, stopped just inside my personal space. Do you honestly think I want you back? That I've spent 5 years planning this elaborate revenge because I miss having you in my bed? Because I'm pining for lost love? Then what do you want? I want Marcus Kane destroyed. I want him to feel what I felt when your testimony burned down everything I'd built. When the fire he started killed my brother. When the FBI seized my accounts and scattered my organization like ashes. His voice dropped to something cold and precise. You're not the prize, Angel. You're the weapon, the thing I take from him to prove he's weak. That his father's empire is rotting under soft hands that can't make hard choices. The truth hit like cold water. I'd known it intellectually, but hearing it said plainly made it real. So, you don't actually want me? You want to hurt him? I want both. Constantine touched my face. I flinched but didn't pull away, and his smile turned sad. You think those things are separate? I loved you once, Emma. In my way. And when you betrayed me, when you chose that whore Sarah and the FBI over me, you taught me that love is just another form of possession. Something that can be taken or destroyed. His thumb traced my cheekbone. So yes, I want to take you from Marcus. I want him to know what it feels like to lose someone he's convinced himself he's protecting. And then I want to watch what you become when you realize protection and possession are the same thing wearing different masks. I grabbed his wrist, moved his hand away from my face. You're wrong. Am I? He let me push him back, amused. Then prove it. Tell me Marcus hasn't been controlling your life for 2 years. Tell me you're not here right now, specifically because he made you feel trapped. That his protection didn't become just another cage with better furniture. I wanted to argue, wanted to defend Marcus's intentions, his genuine care, his difference from this monster. But wasn't I here because I'd felt suffocated? Because making my own choice, even a dangerous one, felt more honest than being kept safe. It's not the same, I said finally. Marcus gave me options. You gave me ultimatums. Did he? Constantine moved to the window, looked out at the city waking below. He watched you for 2 years without your knowledge or consent. He orchestrated your entire employment and proximity to him. He surrounded you with his people, his surveillance, his version of safety. And when you tried to leave last night, I'm willing to bet he made it very clear that walking away meant dying. How is that options, Emma? How is that different from what I did? Except he's better at disguising the chains as concern. The words burrowed under my skin, found the doubts I'd been pushing down. The difference is I can leave him. I'm here, aren't I? You're here making a deal that trades one master for another. That's not freedom. That's just choosing which cage has a better view. He turned back to face me. But I'll admit, I'm curious. What makes you think I'd accept your offer? That I'd trade the exquisite pleasure of destroying you both publicly tonight for a private surrender that gives Marcus Kane the moral victory of martyred love? Because you're smart enough to know tonight is a trap. That the FBI has the building surrounded. That Marcus has contingencies you haven't planned for. That walking into that plaza meeting means risking everything for a revenge fantasy that might fail spectacularly. I moved closer to him, deliberate. But if I come to you now, willingly, you get what you actually want, proof that Marcus's protection means nothing. That I chose you, that he failed. And Sarah lives, goes free, gets her life back. My voice hardened. That's non-negotiable. Constantine studied me for a long moment, then smiled, slow and dangerous. You've gotten better at this. The negotiation, the leverage, very impressive. He pulled out his phone, typed something, showed me the screen. Done. My people are releasing her to the FBI as we speak. Anonymous tip about her location. Claim she was being held against her will. Clean hands all around. I stared at the message confirmation. It was too easy, too fast. Why? Because you're right. Tonight is a trap and I'm not stupid enough to walk into it when I can have what I want right now. He pocketed his phone. And because I'm genuinely curious what happens next. Whether you'll actually go through with this. Whether Marcus Kane will let you. Whether you understand what you just agreed to. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. 17 missed calls from Marcus, 8 from Luca, 3 from Agent Morrison, and 1 text message just sent, "Where are you? Emma, please. Whatever you're doing, stop. Come back. We'll figure this out together. Don't trade yourself for Sarah. Please." Ma. The desperation in those words made my chest tight. Constantine read over my shoulder, uninvited. "Ah, he noticed you're missing. Faster than I expected, actually. He must really care." He moved away, gave me space. "So what now, Emma? You going to answer him? Run back to safety? Or are you going to see this through and find out who you really are when no one's protecting you?" I looked at the phone, at Marcus's message, at the 17 missed calls that represented 2 years of watching, protecting, caring. Then I turned the phone off and put it in my pocket. I see it through. Constantine's smile was terrible and approving. "Good girl. Now, let's discuss terms. You stay here, in this building, under my watch. No contact with Marcus or the FBI, no rescue attempts, no martyrdom plays. Just you and me, figuring out what happens when the past finally catches up to all those choices we made in Boston. For how long? Until I decide you've paid what you owe. Or until Marcus does something monumentally stupid trying to get you back." He gestured to a bedroom visible through an open door. "You'll stay there. Door locks from the inside. I'm not a complete monster. Food, clothes, whatever you need will be provided. Think of it as voluntary protective custody with better accommodations than federal holding. And if I change my mind, then you'll discover that volunteers and prisoners aren't actually that different. The doors lock from the outside too." His expression hardened. "I'm accepting your deal, Emma, but let's not pretend it makes us equals. You're here because I'm allowing it. You're alive because I haven't decided otherwise. And you'll leave when I'm satisfied that Marcus Kane understands what it costs to take things from me." The threat was clear. I'd walked into this with my eyes open, but hearing the cage door close still made my stomach drop. "I want to see proof Sarah's safe." He pulled up a live video feed on his phone. Sarah, looking exhausted and confused, being helped into an FBI vehicle by Agent Morrison himself. She was crying, alive, free. Something in my chest loosened slightly. Satisfied? For now. Then welcome home, Angel. Constantine gestured toward the bedroom. "I'd say make yourself comfortable, but we both know that's impossible. Still, try to get some rest. You look exhausted. Martyrdom is draining, I imagine." I walked toward the bedroom, feeling his eyes on my back. At the threshold, I stopped. Marcus will come for me. I'm counting on it. That's when the real fun starts. Constantine's voice was soft, almost gentle. "You think you're sacrificing yourself for your friend, noble, brave, very heroic. But you're actually just giving me the leverage I need to destroy the man who destroyed me. When he comes, and he will come, because men like Marcus Kane can't resist being heroes, I'll be ready. And you'll get to watch him die knowing you're the reason." The words hit like a physical blow. "Unless," he continued, "you manage to kill me first. That's always an option. I'll even make it fair. I'm not hiding the knives. If you're brave enough, smart enough, fast enough, you can try." His smile was sharp. "But we both know you won't, because killing me means becoming me. And you've spent 5 years convincing yourself you're better than that." I stepped into the bedroom and closed the door. Locked it from the inside. Testing. It was real. Heavy steel beneath decorative wood. The kind that could keep people out or in depending on perspective. The room was beautiful. Luxury hotel beautiful, with a king bed and silk sheets and a bathroom visible through another door. A cage designed to make imprisonment comfortable. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself shake. What had I done? Traded myself for Sarah, yes. Saved her life, yes. But also walked voluntarily into the control of a man who'd once tried to break me. Given up Marcus's protection, thrown away the safety he'd built around me for 2 years. For what? Agency? The illusion of choice? The desperate need to prove I was more than someone to be saved? My phone buzzed in my pocket, still on despite my attempt to turn it off. Marcus must have done something to it, some override I didn't know about. A text. I'm coming for you. Whatever deal you made, whatever you promised, I'm coming. You don't have to do this alone. You never did. Another. Luca traced your cab to Queens. We know where you are. Emma, please, just hold on. Don't do anything that can't be undone. Emmy, a third. I understand why you left. I do, and I'm not angry, just terrified. Please be smart. Please be safe. Please remember you don't owe anyone your destruction, not even her. Emmy, the messages kept coming, desperate and raw, the careful control he always maintained finally cracking. I wanted to answer, wanted to tell him I was okay, that I knew what I was doing, that he should let me handle this my way. But I also knew if I responded, he'd talk me out of it. Or worse, he'd do something reckless trying to extract me before I'd accomplished what I came here to do. Because I hadn't just come to trade myself for Sarah, I'd come to end this. Permanently. I'd lied to Constantine about not being able to kill him. Lied with my body language and my words and my carefully constructed performance of noble sacrifice. But I'd spent 3 hours last night memorizing the layout of this building from Marcus's files. Learning where Constantine kept his weapons, his safe, his escape routes. I'd studied his patterns, his habits, his arrogance. And I'd come here with Marcus's training fresh in my mind. Not to surrender, but to get close. To be underestimated. To be the weapon Constantine thought he was wielding against Marcus. Except I was going to turn that weapon back on him. I just had to wait for the right moment. Had to let him think he'd won. Had to be patient and smart and willing to risk everything on one perfect opportunity. My phone buzzed again. Emma, I know you're reading these. I know you're planning something. Whatever it is, please, please wait for me. Let me help. You don't have to be the hero alone. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally settled on, I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm trying to be free. Trust me. Give me 24 hours. If I'm not out by then, burn this building to the ground. I hit send before I could second guess. His response was immediate. You have 12 hours, not 24. And Emma, I'm not burning anything. I'm coming in. Quietly, carefully, with every resource I have. You're not doing this alone whether you want help or not. That's not negotiable. Despite everything, despite the fear and the danger and the terrible gamble I'd just made, I smiled. Because he understood, finally, that I wasn't running from him, I was running toward the only ending that let us both be free. A knock on the door, Constantine's voice through the wood. Emma, I'm having breakfast sent up. You should eat. Keep your strength up for whatever foolish thing you're planning. He knew. Of course he knew. He'd always been able to read me. I'm not hungry. Liar. But suit yourself. The food will be outside the door when you change your mind. A pause. Marcus is mobilizing. I have people watching his building. He'll be here within the hour with enough firepower to start a small war. You should prepare yourself for that. For watching him try to save you and failing. For being the reason he finally breaks. He won't break. You don't know him like you think you do. Maybe, or maybe you don't know him as well as you think. Men like us, me, Marcus, your precious protector, we're all the same underneath the different costumes. We take what we want and call it love. We control what we fear losing and call it protection. We destroy what threatens us and call it justice. His voice softened, almost sad. The only difference is Marcus has convinced himself he's better than me, that his violence has noble purpose, but when he comes through that door, and he will come, you'll see the truth, that we're both monsters, and you've been letting one monster protect you from another while pretending there was a meaningful difference. The lock clicked. Not my lock. The outside one. The door swung open. Constantine stood in the doorway, and for the first time since I'd arrived, I saw the man beneath the performance. Tired. Older. Almost human in his exhaustion. I did love you, you know. In Boston. Before you betrayed me. Before everything turned to ash. He leaned against the doorframe. I'm not asking you to believe that. I'm just telling you so you understand this isn't only about revenge. It's about showing you that every man who promises to protect you is just finding prettier ways to own you. You're wrong. Then prove it. Survive the next 12 hours. Get out of here alive. Show me that Marcus Kane's version of love is actually different from mine. That protection without possession is possible. He stepped back. But Emma, if you can't, if you discover I'm right, then maybe you'll finally stop running from the truth. That you've always been drawn to dangerous men because safety bores you. That you'd rather be wanted obsessively than loved gently. That the cage is only a cage if you're trying to leave. He closed the door. The lock clicked again. I sat in the beautiful prison and waited for Marcus to come. Waited for the violence I'd set in motion. Waited for the moment when I'd finally understand if I was the weapon or the prize. The pawn or the player. My phone buzzed one last time. 8 minutes. Hold on. I'm coming. I looked around the room. Found what I was looking for. A heavy glass vase on the dresser. Decorative, beautiful, potentially lethal if swung with enough force. I picked it up, tested its weight, positioned myself behind the door. When Marcus came through, because he would come through, because that's who he was, I'd be ready. Not to be saved, but to save. To fight. To finally choose which kind of danger I wanted in my life. The kind that tried to break me, or the kind that taught me I was never actually broken. Just bent. And bent things could still be weapons. I heard footsteps in the hall, shouting, gunfire, the sounds of Marcus's careful infiltration turning into something louder, messier, more desperate. Any second now. I gripped the vase tighter and waited to find out who I really was when the cage door finally opened. The gunfire stopped as suddenly as it started. In the silence that followed, I heard my own breathing, ragged and too fast, and the distant wail of sirens converging on the building like wolves answering a howl. My hands ached from gripping the vase, knuckles white, ready to swing at whoever came through that door first. Footsteps, heavy, running, then stopping just outside. Emma. Marcus's voice, rough with something between relief and fury. I'm coming in. Don't hit me with whatever you're holding. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Of course he knew. The door crashed open. Not picked, not unlocked, just destroyed. And Marcus filled the frame with 3 armed men behind him. His eyes found me immediately, scanned for injuries with the clinical efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Too many times before. He was bleeding from a cut above his eyebrow. His jacket was torn. He looked absolutely furious and completely terrified and somehow still in control. You're okay. Not a question. A confirmation he needed to hear himself say. I'm okay. I set down the vase carefully. Sarah? Safe. FBI custody. Already gave her preliminary statement. He stepped into the room, gestured for his men to secure the perimeter. Constantine. Gone. Has been for 20 minutes. He knew you were coming before you breached the building. I moved away from the wall, legs unsteady. Marcus. I'm sorry. I know We'll talk about what you did later. His voice was controlled, too controlled. Right now, we're leaving. This place is about to be swarming with federal agents, and I'd prefer to have our conversation somewhere that isn't going to end with both of us in interrogation rooms. He was right. Already I could hear boots on stairs, voices shouting orders, the organized chaos of a tactical operation converging on Constantine's penthouse. But Constantine is in the wind. Again. Marcus grabbed my arm. Not roughly, but firmly enough to get me moving. Which we'll deal with. After I get you somewhere safe. I don't want safe. The words burst out before I could stop them. Marcus, I didn't come here to be rescued. I came here to end this. On my terms. And now he's gone and I'm back to square one and you're looking at me like I'm some fragile thing that needs to be wrapped in cotton and I'm looking at you like someone who just took 10 years off my life. His voice cracked slightly. Emma, when I woke up and you were gone, when I read that note, when I realized what you'd done, he stopped himself, jaw working. We need to leave. Now. Before the FBI gets here and this becomes exponentially more complicated. He was right. I hated it, but he was right. We took a service elevator down, different from the one I'd ridden up. This one clearly meant for emergencies and people who needed to disappear quickly. Marcus's men moved with practiced efficiency, securing floors as we descended, communicating in terse sentences through earpieces. How did you find me so fast? I asked as we dropped past the 20th floor. You used my emergency cash. The bills are marked with traceable RFID tags. He didn't look at me, watching the floor numbers instead. I've been tracking your location since you left the penthouse. I just needed time to assemble the team and plan the extraction. You tagged your own money. I tag everything that matters. Now he did look at me, and something in his eyes made my breath catch. Including you. That ring I gave you yesterday, the one with the panic button and the tracking beacon, you're still wearing it. I looked down at my right hand, the ring he'd given me that I'd put on and forgotten about in the chaos of planning my escape. Of course he'd been watching the entire time. So you knew exactly where I was, what I was doing. Yes, and you still came anyway, guns blazing, like I couldn't handle it myself. No. His voice hardened. I came because watching you walk into danger on a monitor is different than trusting you can survive it. I came because knowing where you are isn't the same as knowing you're safe. I came because... He stopped. Started again. Because 12 hours felt like dying, and I wasn't going to wait any longer. The elevator doors opened to a parking garage. 3 black SUVs waited, engines running. Marcus's hand on my back guided me toward the middle vehicle, not pushing, just directing. We climbed in, and the convoy moved before my door was fully closed. Where are we going? Somewhere Constantine can't find. Somewhere the FBI can't immediately serve warrants. Somewhere, he finally looked at me fully. Somewhere we can figure out what the hell happens next. The safe house was in Connecticut, 2 hours north of the city, tucked into woods that looked like oil paintings, all autumn colors and calculated isolation. The house itself was modern glass and stone, beautiful in that sterile way of places designed for function rather than living. Marcus's people swept it anyway, checked for bugs, for breach points, for sight lines. When they were done, Luca approached Marcus with a tablet full of information I couldn't see from my position by the window. Constantine had an extraction team waiting 3 blocks from his building, helicopter on a rooftop in Long Island City. He was gone before we breached the penthouse. Luca's voice was professionally neutral, but I heard the frustration underneath. We're tracking his known properties, his associates, his financial movements. So far, nothing. He planned for this, I said, still staring out at the trees. He knew I was bait, knew Marcus would come. The whole thing was just theater to prove a point. What point? Marcus asked. I turned to face him. That I'd always choose action over safety. That you'd always choose me over strategy. That we're both predictable in our damage. I wrapped my arms around myself. He got exactly what he wanted. Proof that we're not as in control as we think we are. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he dismissed Luca and his men with a gesture. Give us the house. Perimeter watch only. No one comes inside unless I call. When we were alone, the silence was deafening. You're angry? I said finally. I'm furious. He poured 2 whiskeys from a bar cart that had been stocked in advance, handed me one. But not for the reason you think. Then why? Because you were right. He drank, set down his glass with careful control. This morning, when you left, when you made that choice without me, you were right. I have been keeping you in a cage. A beautiful one, a safe one, but still a cage. And you broke out because that's what happens when you treat people like things to be protected rather than people with agency. I hadn't expected that. Accusations, yes. Anger, yes. But this raw honesty felt like standing on ground that was shifting beneath my feet. I didn't leave because I wanted to hurt you. I know. You left because you needed to prove you could save yourself, that you weren't just some broken thing I'd adopted as a project. He moved to the window, stood beside me, close but not touching, and I spent 2 hours in a car terrified out of my mind, imagining every way you could die, planning every contingency for pulling you out alive. And somewhere around exit 47, I realized this is what love feels like when you're incapable of trusting it. Like drowning while watching someone else swim. The word hung between us. Love. He'd said it so casually, like it was just another tactical assessment, but I heard what it cost him to admit. Marcus, let me finish. He turned to face me. I've spent 2 years watching you, protecting you, convincing myself it was about justice, about redemption, about preventing what happened to my mother from happening to you. But that was a lie, or at least, only part of the truth. What's the rest? That I was terrified of this exact moment, when you'd be strong enough to not need me anymore, when my protection would become irrelevant, when you'd realize you survived not because of me, but in spite of my interference. His voice dropped, and I was right to be terrified. Because this morning, watching you walk away, I understood. I don't know how to love someone without trying to control their safety. I don't know how to care without suffocating, and that makes me human, I interrupted. Flawed. Trying. I set down my glass, moved closer. Marcus, you're not Constantine. You're not your father. You're not any of the monsters you're scared you're becoming. You're just... I stopped, searching for words. You're just someone who lost people and decided losing more was unacceptable. That's not evil. It's just sad. Is there a difference? Yes. I reached up, touched the cut above his eyebrow. He flinched but didn't pull away. Evil doesn't question itself, doesn't apologize, doesn't stand in a safe house admitting it's terrified of turning into its worst impulses. I let my hand fall. You came for me this morning, but you also let me make my choice first. You gave me 12 hours instead of 12 minutes. That's not control, Marcus. That's trust. Scared, messy, imperfect trust, but still trust. He caught my wrist gently, held it. What Constantine said about me, about us being the same. You're not the same. He takes and calls it love. You protect and question if it's control. That difference matters. Does it? If the result is the same, if you're still caged, whether the bars are made of violence or protection, I'm not caged. I pulled my hand free. I'm here by choice. After you gave me 12 hours to change my mind, after I walked into Constantine's penthouse and walked back out, after all of it, I'm still here. Doesn't that tell you something? He stared at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. That you're more forgiving than I deserve? That I'm done running from complicated men and pretending simple is safer? I moved closer, into his space, deliberate. That maybe I'm starting to understand the difference between being owned and being chosen, between possession and partnership. Emma. His voice was rough. What are you saying? I'm saying I didn't just leave this morning to save Sarah. I left to prove to myself I could. That 2 years of your protection hadn't made me dependent. That I was still the woman who hit Constantine with a pipe and survived. I held his gaze. And I did prove it. I walked into danger alone and walked back out. But the whole time, I knew you were coming. Knew I had backup even while I was proving I didn't need it. And that's... I stopped, voice catching. That's what partnership looks like, isn't it? Choosing to need someone even when you don't have to. Something shifted in his expression. The careful control cracked, and underneath was raw hope mixed with terror. You're staying. Not a question. A realization. I'm staying. But not in a cage. Not as something to be protected and managed and kept safe from my own choices. I stepped back, put distance between us. I'm staying as a partner. Someone you work with, not just protect. Someone who gets a say in the plans and the risks and the... He kissed me. Not gentle, not asking permission, just moving into my space and taking my face in his hands and kissing me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. I froze for half a second, old instincts screaming, then melted into it, kissed him back with 2 years of tension and fear and want I hadn't let myself acknowledge. His hands were gentle despite the intensity, cradling my face like something precious. And when we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have asked. Your rule. I broke it. Yeah, you did. I smiled despite myself. Don't do it again without permission. And if I ask permission? I pulled back enough to see his face, to see the question and the vulnerability and the dangerous hope in his winter storm eyes. Then I might say yes. If you can handle me saying no sometimes. If you can handle me being reckless and making choices you hate, and occasionally walking into buildings full of Russian mobsters without telling you first. I will never handle that last part well, just for the record. Noted. I touched his face, traced the cut I'd noticed earlier. But you'll handle it, because the alternative is losing me. And I don't think you want that. I don't. The admission was raw, Emma, I don't know how to do this. A relationship where I'm not in control, where I have to trust someone else to keep themselves safe, where I have to sit with the fear instead of micromanaging it away. Nobody knows how to do it. That's why it's terrifying. I stepped fully into his arms, let him hold me, but we figure it out, together. With boundaries and communication and probably a lot of fighting about what's protective versus controlling. His arms tightened around me. I can do that, I think. If you're patient while I learn, I can be patient. If you're patient while I remember how to let someone care without suffocating me. We stood there for a long moment, holding each other in the empty safe house, while outside Marcus's people maintained perimeter watch. And somewhere in the world, Konstantin Volkov planned his next move, and in Boston, Sarah was giving her statement to the FBI. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. A text from an unknown number. Well played. Angel, you chose the better monster. For now. But we both know this isn't over. Enjoy your happiness while it lasts. I'll be watching. K. I showed it to Marcus. His jaw tightened, but he didn't look surprised. He's not going to stop. No, he's not. Marcus took the phone, forwarded the message to Luca. But now we know he's wounded, angry, and angry people make mistakes. What do? We live loudly, visibly. We show him that his revenge didn't work, that you're not his weapon or his possession or his anything. Marcus tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, and we wait for him to come at us again. Because he will. And next time we'll be ready. Together, he agreed. My phone buzzed again. This time, a legitimate number. Sarah, Emma, FBI says I can call now. Are you okay? Please tell me you're okay. I'm so sorry for everything, for watching you, for lying, for all of it. He had my family. I didn't know what else to do. Please don't hate me. Please be safe. So I texted back. I'm safe. You're safe. That's what matters. We'll talk soon. No apologies needed. You survived. That's enough. E. Her response was immediate. Thank you. For coming for me. For trading yourself. For being brave when I couldn't be. I owe you everything. You owe me nothing. Just live. Be free. That's payment enough. I put the phone away. Marcus watched me with something like admiration. You're not angry at her. For what? Surviving? I shook my head. Konstantin turned her into a weapon against me. Same thing he tried to do with me against you. Being angry at her would be like being angry at the knife instead of the person holding it? That's remarkably well adjusted. That's therapy and 5 years of learning to separate people from the trauma they inflict while trying to survive their own trauma. I managed a smile. Also, I'm exhausted and emotionally compromised. And if I start processing the full weight of everything that happened today, I'll probably collapse. So I'm choosing strategic denial until I've slept for 12 hours. He pulled me toward the stairs. Then sleep. We'll deal with everything else tomorrow. Both of us? He paused. What do you mean? I mean you're coming to bed too. Actual bed. Actual sleep. Not sitting in some office reviewing security footage and planning contingencies. I tugged him forward. Partnership means taking care of each other, which means sometimes the person who's always in control has to let someone else be the strong one. For a moment, I thought he'd argue. Old habits dying hard. Then he nodded, followed me up the stairs to the master bedroom. The room was beautiful and sterile. Safe house decoration, everything functional, nothing personal. But when Marcus pulled back the covers and we climbed in, still fully clothed, exhausted and traumatized and somehow still here, it felt like the most honest thing I'd done in years. He held me carefully, like I might break. I turned in his arms, pressed my back to his chest, laced our fingers together. This okay? He asked quietly. This is perfect. We lay there in the gray afternoon light filtering through expensive curtains, listening to each other breathe, not sleeping but not quite awake either. Just existing in the space between danger and safety, between independence and partnership, between who we'd been and who we were becoming. Emma, his voice was soft against my hair. Yeah, thank you for coming back, for choosing this, for being brave enough to believe I could be different than what you've known before. Thank you for letting me go. for trusting me to come back, for being terrified and doing it anyway. His arms tightened slightly. I'm still terrified. Me too. I smiled into the darkness behind my closed eyes. But that's okay. Brave doesn't mean unafraid. It just means afraid and doing it anyway. We slept then. Not peacefully. Both of us woke multiple times, checking locks and shadows and the spaces where danger might hide. But we slept together. Safe enough, chosen enough, free enough. When I woke hours later to true darkness, Marcus was at the window, silhouetted against the glass, watching the perimeter, always watching, always protecting. I got up, moved to stand beside him. He glanced at me, started to apologize for leaving the bed, and I stopped him with a hand on his arm. Don't. I know what you're doing. I know why. I looked out at the dark trees, the invisible guard somewhere in that darkness keeping us safe. But Marcus, eventually you're going to have to stop watching for threats and start building a life worth protecting. Or what's the point? The point is keeping you alive. No, that's the minimum. That's baseline survival. I turned to face him fully. The point is living. Actually living. Not just surviving from one crisis to the next, but having something, someone worth surviving for. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I don't know how to do that. Neither do I. But we learn. Together. I took his hand, pulled him away from the window. Starting now. Starting with trusting your people to watch for threats while you sleep. With trusting me to wake you if something's wrong. With trusting that for tonight, at least, we're safe enough to stop being soldiers and just be people. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we figure out the rest. How to live while Constantine's still out there. How to build something real despite the danger. How to be partners instead of protector and protected. I led him back to the bed. But tonight we just sleep and trust that morning will come and we'll still be here. Together. He climbed back into bed, pulled me against him. This time, his body relaxed slightly. Not all the way. Probably never all the way. But enough. I'm not good at this, he admitted quietly. I know. I'm not good at it either. We'll be terrible at it together. His chest moved with silent laughter. That's the most honest relationship promise I've ever heard. It's the only kind I know how to make anymore. The pretty lies all burned up in Boston. I tilted my head back, found his eyes in the darkness. Is that enough? Messy and honest and probably going to be complicated. It's everything. He kissed my forehead, gentle and deliberate. Emma, earlier, when I kissed you, I broke your rule. But I need you to know, I'll never do that again. Never touch you without permission. Never assume. In that moment, I couldn't not. I know, and I understand. But yeah, next time, ask. I paused. I'll probably say yes, for the record, but I need to be asked, need to have that choice, even when the answer seems obvious. Deal? And Emma, when you're ready, when you want more than just this, you tell me. You lead. I'll follow. However fast or slow you need, whatever boundaries you set, this is your pace. Your choice. Always. The words settled into my chest like stones in water. Heavy and grounding and true. Thank you. For what? For understanding. For not making me explain why I need that control. For just accepting it. You've had enough people try to take your choices away. I won't be another one. His voice was fierce. I'll fight Constantine. I'll fight the FBI. I'll fight my own protective instincts. But I won't fight you. Not about this. Not about anything that matters. I turned in his arms, kissed him, soft and deliberate and entirely my choice. When I pulled back, his eyes were storm dark and full of careful hope. Sleep, I whispered. Tomorrow we figure out how to end this with Constantine, how to build something real, how to be the people we're trying to become. But tonight, we just rest. He nodded against the pillow, and slowly, so slowly I felt the resistance in every muscle, he let himself relax. Let his guard drop. Let sleep take him while I stayed awake just a little longer. Watching the man who'd watched me for 2 years finally trust me enough to close his eyes. Outside, The Connecticut woods whispered with wind and guards and the promise of morning. Somewhere in the world, Constantine was planning his next move. Sarah was trying to rebuild her life. Agent Morrison was assembling his case. The FBI was connecting dots. The world kept turning, dangerous and unpredictable and full of threats I couldn't control. But in this room, in this bed, with this complicated man sleeping beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt in 5 years. Not safe. Safety was an illusion for people who hadn't learned better, but free, chosen, capable of surviving whatever came next, because I'd finally stopped running from danger and started walking toward the life I wanted despite it. I slipped out of bed one more time, moved to the window, looked out at the darkness and the invisible guards and the world beyond this temporary shelter. They say facing danger is how you get lost. I whispered to my reflection in the glass. I learned the opposite. It was only when I stopped looking away that I finally found myself. Constantine taught me to fear. Marcus taught me I could be protected. But I taught myself the most important lesson of all. I didn't need saving. I needed to remember I was never broken, just bent. And even bent things can stand, can fight, can choose their own ending. Behind me, Marcus stirred, reached for me even in sleep. I smiled, moved back to the bed, let him pull me close. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Constantine's next move, the FBI's investigation, the complicated work of building a life while dismantling threats, the hard conversations about boundaries and trust and what partnership actually meant when both people were damaged in different ways. But tonight we had this, imperfect and messy and honest and enough. I closed my eyes and finally let myself sleep, knowing that when I woke, I'd still be here, still choosing this, still free. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from, and click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.